So you do a race. You finish. You feel really great. You're all energized, kind of tired, but you're kind of on that high. Lady, instead of giving me a medal, hands me a box of water. I've never seen boxed water
You've
before.
never had boxed water?
I've heard of it.
Dude, I think that was started here in Michigan.
Oh, I'm sure it does. And I understand it's recyclability. And
it's like, it ships flat, it bottles good.
Oh, yeah.
It's super environmentally
it's super efficient,
awesome.
and it's great. But when you finish a race, that is the last thing you want handed to you is a box of water.
Well, my thing is it always looks like a milk carton. So my assumption is like, if you've never experienced it before, your first go-to is like, you're like, I just finished running a 5K and someone's like, here's a carton of milk. Have you seen this lost child?
Welcome to the Couch Trolls Podcast with your hosts, Dave and Das Bruce.
How you doing, man?
Not too bad. It's awesome day. I'm having just an awesome day today. Dude, we just spent the last several hours playing games on the couch, especially being Sega games.
Little couch co-op. Yeah, you bought, what was it?
Sega Classics.
And how you liking that so far?
Well, between the 50 games from my childhood and then mixing that with potential online multiplayer and then also coach. I don't know why I always say coach, but it's couch co-op.
Couch co-op?
Coach is that guy that stands in front of you when you're trying to shoot zombies.
No. Dude, I was going over, I was watching some gameplay for Left 4 Dead, actually, not too long ago, Left 4 Dead 2. I really wish they would, re-release that or something, because I don't think we're getting 3 anytime soon.
Valve really feels no motivation with all that money coming in on Steam.
Dude, there's, I know that the joke is there's no such thing as 3 with Valve.
And they're owning that joke hard.
I've hardcore looked into it. They're on Portal 3. They're on Left 4 Dead 2 Episode 3. Left 4 Dead 3, obviously. Counter-Strike is on its second rendition because Source and Global Terror kind of feel the same.
I don't know. Even not counting that one, it's the
Team
the Fortress
thing
is
3.
Maybe what they're doing is they're going to develop them all at once and just release all of them at the same time on their own console.
But they'll release them as Orange Box 2 just to fuck with people.
Yeah, that'd be it. And they'll just charge a couple $100s for it.
It'd be worth it, man.
Portal 3 and Half-Life 3, people are going to pay hundreds of dollars for it.
I guarantee you they would.
So, but besides what we played today, what have you been up to?
Just hanging out, playing Nintendo.
Nintendo?
Yeah, I was actually, my roommate's been speedrunning Metroid.
Of course he has. Which Metroid?
The original.
Oh, the original
NES. So
now, is that the one that everyone loves?
I think
is it the Super Nintendo one?
Well, all the Metroids are generally loved. I personally love the Super Nintendo one.
What's the difference between the first and the second one?
Second one was actually for Game Boy only.
Okay, what's the difference between the one that you played and the one that everyone loves?
Everyone loves the one that I play.
Is that the one? I don't know. I've only played Metroid Prime and Metroid Fusion.
Okay, if you played Fusion, you would probably like the Super Nintendo one. And once you borrow that
NES Mini,
you're gonna play it and you're gonna end up probably loving it. Because did you like Fusion?
Yeah, it's a good game.
If you like that, it is much along the lines of Fusion. Fusion more closely follows the style of what Super Metroid was.
That's the one. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word super to put in front of Metroid.
Well, it's funny because it's Metroid 3 or just Super Metroid. Everything had super back then.
What about, have you played the Overwatch since they've done their anniversary?
Of course.
Yeah, how's that? Oh, yeah, actually, I wanted to.
Good.
How are the character modifications?
What character modifications?
Symmetra. She got that. She has those new upgrades.
That's not through yet. That's on the PTR. That's on PC. That's
it's not out yet?
No.
Oh, I thought you were ranting about it because you didn't like it after playing it.
No, I saw the footage for it. They're still testing it, and I'm not happy with it at all.
Why?
Are you freaking kidding me? Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. I haven't watched the video.
You know what? Then I'm not even gonna get into it with you. Then
watching it through PC is like a trailer. You just don't know what the exact outcome is going to be. So I'm wasting my time watching it.
Other than damage modification, it is what it's going to be right now. So once you see, because it was officially from the site.
So what is it going to be?
I'm not going to get into it.
You don't remember, do you?
No, I'm pissed. It's the teleporter is now full use.
Okay, that sounds like a good way to make the game faster.
Except for its line of sight, because it spawns it in front of you and it spawns wherever you point.
Okay, that's a little different.
So you can't really sneak it around anymore.
Okay.
Her ult has been reduced to, as far as I can tell, one thing, which is just a giant wall barrier.
Okay, barriers are, I think, at this point overdone in Overwatch.
Yeah,
They're making the game too defensive, especially after the last couple characters they've released.
It's fine, whatever. And then the turrets that you can shoot out, you only get 3 turrets now, and they have health.
Okay, yeah, I don't like
Which
that.
was fine.
Three is way because I can think of at least 2, like where you have 4 at minimum.
4 would be nice.
Even numbers seem like it make more sense.
Exactly. Like, give me some even
3.
Like her whole character too is like
they basically nerfed her then, right?
I feel like
I guess that's that or made her a defensive.
Her leash doesn't lock on either.
Oh,
that was one of 2 Genji defenses.
Yeah, that is pretty drastic for one character.
I'm super pissed. And everyone's like, oh, just aim with it. Well, it's like she has a less of a beam than what a Zarya does, like the distance wise.
Yeah,
and like it powers up. There's a weird thing where it's supposed to be able to not waste ammo when you're blasting a shield.
Yeah.
So that might play okay into it, but the fact that it doesn't leash on anymore, like the only person that's like anti-Genji defense now is just pretty much well, I guess Moira is to a certain degree, but Moira and Brigitte.
Yeah, I don't know. I failed to see any kind of I'm not attracted to that game anymore. Like I can't get into it because I don't know what it is. I'm so tied to the special events they do that it has to be like the right event.
So
to
you're
pull
just
me
gonna
in.
jump on every few months when a special event pops up.
I did the PV not the PvP one.
PvE.
Yeah, PV. I don't know why we always screw that up.
How do you're the only one?
Okay, why do I always screw it up? I have no clue. But the PvE event was pretty good, but I'm more concerned about like why is capture the flag still a thing? That should be
just
dead.
never worked.
It's such
that
a
just never
bad
worked.
Mode.
It doesn't work for the game. I'm glad that they tried it and everything because it's cool that they're actually putting forth the effort. But you know, whatever. I mean, what have you been playing? Have you just been on that?
Honestly, dude, I beat God of War and I beat Detroit Becoming Human. I mean, those are 2 very stacked
How did you beat
games.
Detroit Becoming Human already?
Well,
did you just not do anything? You just went fast through it?
I bought it and played it for several hours straight, and I couldn't help it. It was amazing. It's everything we wanted out of that game. It landed. It landed so good. And
is this an like official recommendation?
Oh yeah. A couple people have already asked me about buying it, and I told them $40 seems like a perfect price. Like
really?
I think it's definitely above like discount price, but I think it's not quite worth 60. The 60 price,
digital or physical?
Well, you know me, I'll buy physical just so I can resell it if I really want to. But to me, I don't think that matters as much.
Didn't come with like a cool art book or anything.
No, the weird thing is the pre-order, because I pre-ordered mine, and there was really nothing with it. If you did it through the digital, you got the theme and you got the soundtrack. If you did it at like a GameStop or Amazon, you got nothing.
So it's actually probably better to do it digitally then.
I guess, yeah. I guess there are some perks to that, but there's still that physical resale value that if you're going to pay that much for a game, you should probably buy something that you can sell in case you don't want it. Especially, it is only about 12 hours long, but I'm pretty sure you can play through it about 50 times. To get
50 times at 12 hours each?
Yeah, to get all the endings. I actually would love to...
Quick, do the math on that. You're the math guy.
I'm not going to do
What's
the
12
math.
times 50?
Too much. 600.
Worth the money.
But no, so I've played through the game twice now, and it's kind of interesting because I did the 2 very much counter opposite routes to the game. I did the way I felt like playing it, and then I did the very opposite of how I felt about every scenario. And there's still hours and hours of gameplay.
Well, it sounds like you're actually getting your money out of that then.
I am, and the big difference from Beyond Two Souls, besides the obvious story and some of the mechanics, is how like you can go to chapter select, and there are checkpoints in the chapter. So if there are like one decision that you want to redo, it actually allows you to go and kind of redo that one decision.
So you can actually just go back and jump in at that point?
Yeah, so I don't have to replay an hour.
So much better.
I don't have to replay an hour scenario to see one outcome change.
Nice.
So I thought that was pretty great. And then God of War, I mean, the story, the music, the graphics, the combat.
I heard you talking to he was on our last show, Canada.
Oh yeah. Canada's he's 100%ing the game. I'm playing it on a borrowed disc, so I have to give it back before I 100%. But I'm totally gonna buy that game, and I want to replay it on hard.
Nice.
I mean, the game lands perfect.
Opens it up though for a lot of sequels.
Yes, they're.
I feel like this is kind of like I feel like they closed off what the storyline for the previous games were.
Nope.
You don't think so?
It's a direct sequel to the last game.
Okay, it can be a direct sequel, but I'm saying like, you know how like, okay, think of how Star Wars is broken up. You kind of count the first ones as their own.
It's the next generation of God of War
because
games.
it completely changed up the gameplay style. So
the gameplay, the mythos. I mean, they changed everything, but they did it right.
Unique thing.
Yep. So I'm excited to see the future of that game. But if there was ever a reason to buy a PlayStation 4 over an Xbox, Sony's gonna flaunt God of War.
You better watch that, man. Listeners are gonna get on you for
it does kind of suck though, because right, you and me were huge Xbox people.
Yeah.
I mean, we loved
when
the
nobody
360.
Was.
Well, you loved it when
I loved the original Xbox.
Yeah, you liked it before it was cool. Yeah, whatever.
Shut up.
But I liked it when it was cool. I liked it like peak Xbox was when they had all those great exclusives for the 360. I liked
Shadowrun?
Yeah. There's an exclusive for you.
I love that game, dude.
But I know you do. But at that time, everyone liked Xbox because they had the exclusives, they had the technology and their online gameplay, they had the right interface, they did everything right. And it's so sad that I only like push PlayStation so hard because it's the best out of those two.
Bold words.
I'm not that bold. And you know what? I would still back up as PC as being just as good as PlayStation if you want to go one or the other.
Really?
I know there's
gonna PC Master Race.
PC Master Race. Yeah, they have quantity, but I feel like there are a few games that really hold PlayStation up to a caliber that PC. I don't know. That's a whole other argument.
Let's at least set a quick record straight. Then I will say this. PC has everything available on it at any given time.
Almost everything.
Almost anything. Nintendo is just kid family friendly
and portable.
So
yeah,
they definitely got that.
Switch is amazing because of that.
Yep. I would say that.
What's Xbox got?
Xbox actually has cross compatibility now. They're doing more cross compatibility, but if you're gonna play PC games, you're gonna play stuff that's not really available on.
Yeah.
Xbox One.
Why play a PC game on an Xbox when you can play it on a PC?
Exactly. And I think it's become such a blurred line, which is why we generally state that. There's still what's the pirate game that came out for that?
And Sea of Thieves didn't do very well.
I know, but it looks so good and I was super wanted that game.
Yeah, and I feel like every time their exclusives are coming out, it's like I'm excited for a couple of them because I'm still waiting for that game that kind of like, no, I'll get an Xbox One
on PC.
And exactly. And it's just a killer that they're not fine. Cuphead's really the one game so far that if I bought an Xbox One, I'd be like, I have to buy Cuphead, and I would want Sunset Overdrive and Gears. And if I can't even get the 5 games that I really want to play on that console, I just don't see a purpose in it.
Usually 3 is a selling point for me.
And I guess it could be, but I don't know. Like, especially now that Switch is available, because now if I wanted to buy another console, why wouldn't I buy a Switch?
Switch has a bunch of really good exclusives too. Like they had the whole
Mario and Zelda.
Yeah, well,
and Splatoon.
They're also
Donkey
getting
Kong,
a lot
Kirby.
of like the PC indie stuff that's really good, like Binding of Isaac.
Yeah, and on top of that, they're not only landing their own big first party, but now they're landing the indie game.
And I love it anytime that you can get a game and it's just like a beefed up version of like
the Game of the Year editions, essentially.
Yeah, or just cause like one that I played a hell of a lot back in the day was 2X Tony Hawk.
Yeah,
because Tony Hawk 2X had all the levels from 1, all the levels from 2, like 4 or 5 additional levels, and then you could do 4-player on it.
Yeah, and that was, and I mean, let's just really get to the point.
That's like the first one that I really remember doing. Is this the Tony Hawk episode? Can we do the Tony Hawk episode?
We might as well make this all about Tony Hawk. This is officially the deep dive into Tony Hawk.
Thank God. I've been waiting for this for so long. Okay, cool. Where do we start? You start. What do you want?
Let's first say that Das is obviously the much bigger fan, but this is a franchise we've loved since pretty much the start of it. But personally, where did Tony Hawk start with you? Like, what really got you into super fandom?
I got addicted to it when it was on a demo disc at a Kmart in a kiosk.
Okay, hipster.
No, they had the demo disc and they got onto like PlayStation Underground. And remember how they used to have kiosks for arcade games?
I honestly, I never went to Kmart.
Really?
No, I was way too cool for Kmart.
I was poor, so I went to Kmart. I used to buy my Legos through them.
So, did you have a PlayStation when Tony Hawk 1 came out?
No. Okay, so here's the thing. I know that I don't ever say that I sell games, but there was one point in my life, this is a long time before I even met you, where I actually sold off my original Nintendo and my Super Nintendo. And I had a pretty decent collection going at the time, but this was before I like hardcore started collecting, and I sold them both. And this was like right around when right before like PlayStation 2 came out. So the PS1s dropped, and I sold my stuff before, you remember Vidiots, right?
Yeah. Video game
back
world.
when that was still Video Game World. I went in there in that smoke-filled shop because all that dude did was smoke and play Medal of Honor.
Yes. Now as an adult, looking back at Video Game World, it
You're
was
like-
one of the worst businesses ever run.
You're like, why would you let a child in there?
I don't know what. There's a lot of things about that it was really packed. It was really dark and really smoky.
Oh, it was
and the guy
awesome.
had the worst customer service
I
skills.
loved it so much.
So essentially you sold all your stuff to
I
get a PlayStation.
sold all my stuff. I got a PlayStation because I got a PlayStation. I got like Grand Theft Auto 2. I got Final Fantasy 8.
So
I
you
got
were
a
really
whole
late then,
bunch of-
because that was like when Tony Hawk 2 was already out, right?
Yes, but the
Okay.
thing is, like, I had played 1, but 2 was the one that really capitalized. I played a lot of 1 with friends, and played just so much of it. But 2 was where it was like 2 was the needle in the arm for me.
And we're gonna get into each of these, but for me, I got into Tony Hawk actually on the first one. My friend Matt, we would hang out every couple weeks. We'd watch South Park when the first season was out,
Yeah.
and we would just play a lot of random games. But one of the games he randomly picked up, completely random, did not like skateboarding, didn't like sports games.
Why did he get it then?
No one knows. He just decided to get Tony Hawk. He brings it, we play it, and it just fell in love immediately. It blew my mind how much we fell in love with a game that neither one of us really liked the sport outside the game.
So, my best friend at school at the time had a PlayStation. So like this was pre me. This was like a lot of what we played on his PlayStation is what made me want to dump all my stuff and get a disc system
Yep.
finally. And it's like, cause we were playing Metal Gear Solid, WWF Warzone,
Of course.
just a bunch of like really solid. I don't know if Warzone actually holds up very much. A lot of those wrestling
Probably not.
games don't. But it was the controls were simple enough, but there was just a bunch of really good games at the time. My neighbors, we'd play Castlevania Symphony of the Night. So
Yeah, you were way later, and I think that really benefits you because you were because 98 obviously was the big year for
Mhm.
both 64 and PlayStation. So you were coming in
it was 2
kind of
years
after
after
that.
the system's released, roughly.
Yep.
Because I think, was it 96? I think was 64.
I got my PlayStation in 96.
Okay.
So I was really at the cusp of the beginning of all the PlayStation stuff. So when I saw Tony Hawk 1, it was a huge deal.
all my neighbors had PlayStations, and like, so I got a good variety of games because it's like one of them like platformers, one of them like action fantasy, one of them like sports games, and like since one of them sports game wise, was
Yep.
Tony Hawk, because that was the sports game that wasn't a sports game. The Extreme games, I think, were.
Yep, and that's exactly it. I think Extreme 1 might have been out before Tony Hawk. I can't quote me on it, but I feel like those games were around about the same time.
Well, it was that and Cool Borders.
Yep,
Cool
there was
Borders was
the
also
Cool Borders.
popular around that time.
Face it, Extreme Sports. There were a lot of
It
the
was the
BMX,
90s.
the Mira,
Dave Mira.
bike games were around, but Tony Hawk, for some reason, something about that game was just better than all the rest.
You know what it was? It was easy to learn, hard to master. It was the rule of fighting games. It was we knew button inputs from fighting games. It was
Combos.
Yep. Well, interviews. I've looked up so many interviews about the Tony Hawk games and everything, and the whole button input for specials was actually because Mortal Kombat was super popular at the time.
Yeah.
So like that's where that kind of was derived from.
So I guess for the people who don't know Tony Hawk very well, we could probably talk a little bit about what Tony Hawk we should really just go through each of these games, especially we don't have to go through the entire history of the franchise.
The whole back end is bad. Plus I have like a whole, you're going to disagree with me on this, but I have there's the rule of 3 with Tony Hawk's. It's good, better, terrible.
Well, the one I hate the most is Tony Hawk 3. So
Do you hate? I thought you like 3 the best because that's reverts.
No.
That's where the reverts came in.
Yeah, you're full of it. I hate reverts. That broke the game.
Wait, you think reverts broke the game?
Before we go there, first Tony Hawk game. So what was great and what stood out about Tony Hawk 1 that never transitioned? Like what changed
what changed from each Tony Hawk?
Yeah, it's probably the best just to go that, like, Tony Hawk 1, like, my favorite level in that game is still the mall. It was iconic. It was the first level.
Second.
Was it the second level?
It was warehouse. Hold on. I'm going to see if I can remember this. It was warehouse, then mall. I want to say school.
The canyon, right?
I'm not going to be able to do all of them.
Yeah, okay. So every game was special in some way. I feel like the first game really stood out to me because it had the one-way routing. Like you could, it wasn't kind of like an open
that one
play
was kind
area.
of a pathway.
Yeah, it was all downhill skateboarding. You were always constantly going in a forward motion.
Fun fact: that's actually what the game was originally supposed to be. It was supposed to be a racing game. So,
which makes sense.
So the mall and the Grand Canyon type level, the dam or whatever, those were specifically. You can tell that they have a good polish for being just one-way levels where you build a line, but there's different ways to get down the hill.
Yep, and I think that's what I liked about it was the fact that when you would play, even like in their versus mode, you would play differently than another person, and it just had a much smoother feeling to it because it was just a one route. You do what you can. It almost felt like a Mario platformer, like a chase scene.
Yeah.
In a Mario game where you constantly had to push forward.
Oh, the side scroll, like the side-scrolling screen where it's pushing you and everything.
Yeah, I feel like that's what Tony Hawk felt like. Like you could approach the levels differently, but you still had the same endpoint.
Yeah.
And for some reason, that really stuck with me. Is it was fun
for those two levels though.
Yeah,
the other ones were kind of open-ended.
Yeah, I felt like that's where they kind of lost their direction, like where they wanted to be one thing, but then they also tried to be something else.
Let's be fair. The open-ended is what kind of made it fun. The demo disc had I want to say Chicago on it for the skate thing, which was the open map here play. So it lended itself very well as a demo for hey, here's an open park, just go play for 2 minutes. And then you go, oh man, I played this and it's great. But then you see your friend play and they play in a completely different way. And you're like, oh man, there's a whole score system. So then it becomes super competitive and fun. And then the downhill levels where it kind of guides you. They had that in there since the start, since that's what the game was originally supposed to be, which was kind of reminiscent. And I guess they based it off of an old arcade game. It was like Top Gear or Top Flight Skater.
That makes sense.
Did you ever play that with a little slalom thing?
It would make sense though, with those being kind of the two like outlier levels, that they would either be early development levels or taken kind of from another concept.
For the downhill things.
But I mean, really, where they saw the real opportunity though were those open levels. I mean, they probably saw how people reacted to go to a skate park and play for 2 minutes.
Yep.
And they're like, let's make a sequel.
Well, the thing is, the first game did so well, and then the thing that I think probably helped you, I'm guessing you like the second one way better than the first one.
I think I like the second one as an overall game, but I think I still prefer those two racing levels over all of them.
Okay.
I think I prefer that style.
That style of racing?
Yeah.
Well,
which they completely dropped.
No, we'll get to that.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get to that. Don't you jump ahead on my timeline now. So the nice thing that when Tony Hawk 2 finally came around, they basically added one major element that was kind of game-changing per thing. So Tony Hawk 2 added manuals for the first time.
Which was awesome.
Which goes and allows you to chain more stuff together in that open park area. So I imagine that probably worked way better for you.
Not to mention, they added that create a character mode where you can create any man you want.
Yes. Okay.
Because Alyssa Streamer didn't feel alone enough that they wanted to, let's have as many characters as you want.
Let me explain this then. So they give you pro characters, and the first game was just the pro skaters you had. They have one pro skater that was a girl, which was Alyssa Streamer. And then
token.
In the second, token chick. And then in the second game, they added create a skater. But you could only create dude skaters. They didn't let you make ladies until the third game. To be fair, 2X, the one that's like
the one we started
the
the conversation on. Yeah, the definitive version of the 1 and 2 combined
actually had
it. Yep,
because it had the create a character, and it's funny because if you look on the back of the box, if you look on the back of the box, it says create a skater now including female characters. Like we got it. Do you have your copy?
Of course I do.
We'll have to take a screenshot and post that on the page.
We should, because it's pretty unbelievable at this point that's even
that was ever a thing.
Yeah, they just no one's gonna want to be a girl.
Yeah, I don't know if it was like lack of memory for programming or what.
So what's your favorite level on 2 then?
I want to say Marseille, France.
You like for France? That was the tournament level, right?
Which was the tournament level. That was the first tournament level that you do, and it's 3 runs. But I just have a set that I've built for that level. Like I have a line that I skate for that. That is just I basically can go around the level like 1.5 to 2 times and get like a couple mil.
Yeah, that one was built for combos because of it being a tournament type mode. But for me, it was Philadelphia.
Really?
The weird thing is when I first played that game, I didn't like that level. But going back and playing it, I think I like it better because it's a more believable city. Like it's kind of set up more to be more believable compared to most of the other levels that have obscure ramps.
You can
stuff.
trash that one side, and then there's that whole open skate park to the left.
Yeah, and that's it too. It has a feeling of a real city with the graffiti and things. And then it has a skate park that you can come in and out of like a normal skate park.
I think the videos for BAM are actually in that skate park too.
I don't doubt it, especially because even in real extreme sports were so popular then.
The videos though, man, too. When you beat the game.
Oh, that's right. The pro skater videos they would add in there.
Videos for like each pro skater, and then they had the Bales video, and the Bales video was great. And
Always.
then they had the ones for the guys at the office when they're working on the game because they'd bring the production crew to like a skate park and just you'd watch them biff it. A lot of them got real good at skateboarding, I would imagine.
I would hope so. They're like, okay,
years.
we're filming you and we're going to put you on this thing that's going to last forever. You probably shouldn't fall.
Yeah, we have video on disc now.
You're going to be internalized into this.
So anywho, 2 added the manuals, which I think was really good for Flatland because then because the vert was a little overpowered in the first game.
Yep, I agree.
The vert, you got the spins, you got the grabs, so you were building up way large combos unless you found an area that you could do street skating at.
Yep.
Then in the second one, street skating got a bit overpowered because you go and do like a street line with your grinds and your manuals and your flip tricks. And then once you kind of went up, you'd end on a vert and then you do like a huge vert move and get your vert. And I think 3 is kind of where it balanced it out a lot more.
Yeah, they went from one extreme to the other. And then, I mean, to really get into 3, the 3 really brought out the revert.
Yes.
The revert was when you were able to, at the bottom of a ramp, spin your...
You hit the spin button and you would go and you would
and
shift from like regular to switch or switch to regular.
Yep, and then you would immediately continue combo.
You could continue into a pipe again.
Or a manual.
Well, the nice thing is with that was because you could then continue your vert, people who were doing vert could do that. And the downside, because the downside to manualing was you would lose your balance. And if you lost your balance, you'd fall. If you'd fall, you'd lose your entire combo. The thing with the vert was you would go so slow that eventually it would just conk out your combo. So when you got good at combining both of those together, I mean, you're unstoppable then.
Now, remind me, was 3 at the very end of PlayStation era or was that PS2?
3 was start of PlayStation 2. 3 was the first one on PlayStation 2. So it went, I think you get 1, 2, and I think you get 3 on 64. But those ones were all really bad ports.
Yep.
You could get one.
Controller was not good for that game at all.
Well, it wasn't bad because you used the C buttons.
No, the stick. It wasn't good.
And then you could get 1, 2, 3, and 4 on original PlayStation.
You can get 4 on PlayStation?
I have it. It's so bad. The draw distance is terrible.
Really?
It's if you want to play it sometime, it's so terrible.
So for
like
3,
it's the second game engine.
Okay. So as far as me hating 3, I guess the only reason I really hate 3 is really because the revert, I felt like it just broke the game where combos just went way too long. It quit being about a trick and about basically combos.
And that's what I like about the games.
Which is fine. But I can't even remember a single level in 3 for some reason. Like that's
really Alcatraz, man.
Oh, yep.
Alcatraz was great.
Yeah. That
Alcatraz
game really just doesn't stand out to me.
Memorable level from that.
And that's the one where BAM was in it, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Like how everything was based on BAM. Because Jackass, I think, was getting popular around the time.
Yep.
Because, what is it? Oh, no. Alcatraz was 4. I take that back.
Oh,
hold on. No,
you don't remember 3 either.
My bad. People are probably already in the comments being like, actually.
No, they're not. Because they're like, we don't remember 3 either because it sucked.
No. Was it Canada was kind of memorable? Suburbia was kind of memorable.
Kind of memorable.
Well, Suburbia had a cool, because I always like all the little references that they hide in that. Because they hid the Thin Man from a movie called Phantasm. And you had to go into his house. It's just really obscure references that they would just pepper throughout that game. That
So
I love.
after they crashed and burned on 3, in my opinion, they moved on to 4.
4
Now,
had Alcatraz.
now 4 is the one I actually have a lot of memories with you on, because this is where we had, I think, split our decisions, because I was really big about playing it on GameCube.
No, that was Underground.
Well,
You're
no, it
jumping ahead
wasn't.
again.
Was it really?
Yes.
Oh, that had the zoo
jumping.
on it?
No, 4 was Zoo.
Yeah, we played the zoo level.
Did we?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. I remember, was it Bob Burnquist's Pro Special? Because the cool thing about the 4th games, so the thing that the 4th games added was you could do spine transfers, which was if there was 2 vert ramps back to back, you could go up one and then land yourself in the other.
You could break that wall.
Yep. You could go and you could lob yourself over, and you also got a lot of speed for doing that. And the other thing that you could do was, oh man, it was flatland tricks. So while you're manualing, you could add in flip tricks.
Oh, that's where they added specials too,
That
right?
was-
The flatland specials?
Yeah, you could do you could do all the different flatland stuff. And the cool thing about 4 was, since that was the last one in the Pro Series, fight me on that, I dare you.
Activision. And they're,
Yeah. Don't eat. Okay.
I can talk about 5 at the end of this.
Yeah,
that's the end of the line.
We'll get into the bad at the end of No, that they bailed before that line. 4 though had pro specials unique to each person, which was really cool. So like your create a character had a pro special. Rodney Mullins was, I think, it was in a giant half pipe that was slowly decaying, so it kept getting smaller, like chunks of it would go away. Because the thing about Rodney Mullins is he's a flatland guy, and growing up, he pretty much made flatland. Like he invented all these flatland tricks because there was no vert skating where he was at when he was younger, so he'd go practice in the garage when it was snowing and stuff. So his pro special was related to his actual upbringing, and each one of them had something unique. Like Bob Burnquist was the first person to complete a loop. So the zoo level, he had the
from the
loop.
start, we had the 900 and Tony Hawk. I mean, so they all had, because Tony Hawk was known for his vert, all of his vert stuff. So it was cool.
Bam had the shopping cart for his pro.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Like I said, everyone had a different.
Everything keeps full circling
pro.
back to Bam.
It does. It's always, well, eventually the series dies with that too, in my opinion. We'll get there.
Yep.
We'll get there.
So
in a minute.
after the 4th game, which by the way, the zoo is the best level. I don't know why,
I
but
think Alcatraz.
the zoo, for some reason, I just remember that level really well. And I think it was just my favorite level. And I can't put my finger on why, but it was a fun level. I think I just enjoyed it being, it was a zoo. And there were, I don't know. It's weird. I just remember that we played the zoo a lot.
Also, they had a bunch of weird mini games in there too.
Did they?
Like you had the dodgeball fight with Monkey Poo.
Oh, yeah, that's
And,
right. For some of the questing.
There was like a baseball level too. There was the tennis courts in the first level.
So
at
that was
college.
really the start of the
college
downfall.
campus was cool. No, 4 was good. Like I said, first one was good. Second game was good. Third game was terrible. 4th game was good. And then Underground, which was unbelievable. I love that game so much.
Yeah.
Everyone thought getting off the board was bad. That added where you get off the board, but that allowed you to climb up buildings and stuff. So you get different areas. So you could caveman in. So you could acid drop. So you climb like a building and just jump down into a half pipe and catch ridiculous speed.
I liked that you could added another level of realism to it, because obviously if you're a skateboarder and you kind of like caught in a corner, you just get off your board and kind of get out.
But it lets you continue your combo from there.
And I think that's what I didn't like about it. I feel like you're off your skateboard. Why are you comboing off your skateboard?
Because you can caveman into stuff, man.
I don't care what name you give it. You're off your board. It's not a combo. It's like double dribbling in basketball.
That's what Mike Valley used to do, though. Did you ever watch Mike Valley?
Dude, I didn't watch any skateboarding, anything. As close as I got to skateboarding was Tony Hawk.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe a couple of extreme sport competitions on TV, maybe.
That's so sad. No, Mike V does like a lot of like acrobatic stuff. So like he's the dude like walking on his hands while his board's still like on his feet, or doing handstands on boards, things like that.
But that's a trick. He's not just getting off his skateboard, running over, jumping onto a wall, and then jumping back in.
But he would like run up, kick a ramp down while jumping onto a skateboard. So like he would do crazy stuff.
And I think the levels were pretty iconic even for Underground. Underground really was, to me, the peak of what the potential of what
I think that was
Tony
the peak
Hawk could
of
be.
the series, in my opinion, honestly.
I don't like when that game came out. I'm like, what could they possibly do that they didn't do in Underground?
Well, that's what I was thinking too, and unfortunately, that's where the rule of 3 comes in, because the next game in the series was Underground 2.
Now, as far as mechanics, the only one I really remember is throwing. Is one of the additions.
The throwing thing. Also, what about the one vehicle per level? I saw an interview recently where you have a flip trick, you have a half-ass grab, and you can only do one grind with those vehicles. It was like the kid in the wheelchair. I think it was like Jesse James, the motorcycle guy, was like on an overpowered Segway.
It was just really obscure, random 90s references.
Yeah, right. Those 2000s.
Oh, it was
2000s. Yeah.
Okay,
Because
so
I think Jesse James had his like motorcycle TV show. I think he had a game for it too.
I don't doubt it. The 90s and early 2000s.
Early
were
2000s
confusing.
is bad for a bunch of like weird licensing of like television shows. Like Lost had a video game.
Yeah, I dodged pretty much any TV video game. It just I know
Sopranos had a video game.
The walking narrative games, you can get away with those because it's really taking the focus off gameplay. But outside of walking narrative games, you really cannot do a TV like
I think it's just
game.
I think was it they had Pimp My Ride as a game.
They did have Pimp My Ride as a game. I remember that one. That I don't know. There's so many bad ones out there, especially
Jackass had a game.
Like if you look at
that actually worked though because that was mini game. It always circles around a BAM. Why does it always circle around a BAM?
He was what was his TV show called?
Viva La Bam.
Oh yeah, Viva.
It had BAM in the title.
That show, how stupid. If you really look back at it, it was so like I get it as a 1 hour thing. Watching him beat up on
a 1 hour program.
No, I'm saying if you just made it a one-time 1 hour
like
basically just
special,
Jackass BAM edition, and it just be a one thing. No, we're gonna make a TV show out of. He has this stupid big house where he beats up on his fat uncle. How was that? Like that was like the worst part of reality TV.
No, it's still bad. We have the Kardashians. That's a thing.
Yeah, that's true.
They have games too for mobile app.
Survivor has games now. That
Survivor had a game. Once again, it was that like, how the hell is this being turned into a game?
The next Sims game, it'll be Sims: The Real World.
I mean, that's pretty much what the Sims is. It's Sims Online.
Jersey Shore, The Sims.
Didn't they have that with the herbs? Do you remember that?
Oh, they did make the herbs. That was bad too. I played it on GameCube, which the graphics and the controls made that game so much worse.
I think The Sims wasn't too bad on GameCube, to be honest with you.
The Sims are the herbs.
The Sims. I'm not talking about the herbs. I didn't really play that much Sims, though.
We should probably start talking about Tony Hawk again, because this is getting... We're getting way left field on this.
Let me segue. So The Sims at least had, like, house building, which had pretty good controls.
I just thought of something. We forgot one of the best parts about Tony Hawk.
That's what I was segueing into.
Tony Hawk 2 had level building. Level creation.
Build a park.
Actually, it's called Build a Park with Spikes, because every level I made, I had to put spikes in it.
You had the death spikes in there?
I don't know why, but I just there were spikes in every level.
That was one thing that I liked about Underground was when you'd build it, you could put people in there to go and create challenges since the map was open.
Tony Hawk RPG.
Tony Hawk 4 was the first game that lets you free roam, because every game had a 2-minute timer per level. Tony Hawk 4 was find a person, complete a task.
The task was usually limited, not the actual map.
Limited time, but you had a free map to roam. So that was kind of nice because you'd learn the map then. And because you'd learn the map, then you were better at creating lines when you actually encountered people and stuff on it.
And actually, at this point, something else we didn't mention that was kind of my obsession with Tony Hawk is gapping. So on every level, there were special spots that you would basically hit from one point to another.
Yeah, whether it was like grind this entire length of rail, like the roll call rails in 2.
Or a certain height on a vert. But there was always basically a special combo or a special point bonus associated to completing one of these, like, I guess they were kind of challenges in some way or another.
They were achievements before achievements.
The problem is when they gave me a list of all the gaps on the level, and then they were question marks, and I had to find every last one of them. Because,
did you actually go through and do all of them?
Oh, yeah. I got all the gaps in 2.
So you got Private Carrera.
Oh, yeah.
Because Private Carrera was I got
Spider-Man, too.
Spider-Man, you get for unlocking the game. Okay, so Activision also, another thing that
we forgot a whole bunch of things.
Well, we're jumping from game to game. We were talking about each different thing of the game offered. I figured we'd do special characters afterwards. But we'll jump back in the timeline then. So each game also had a unique tie-in character based on whatever like Activision had like rights to use at the time.
Yeah, they were just kind of throwing their stuff in.
They did the PlayStation 1 Spider-Man games, and so they inserted Spider-Man in Tony Hawk 2. And there's that awesome Spider-Man video where if
I
you
wonder, is that PlayStation exclusive Spider-Man as a character?
no, because it was on
Was he on 2X?
He was
I
on
don't-
64 also.
Was he on the 64?
Yeah, and he was in 2X.
I don't
It was
remember him in
just
2X.
owned because
I wasn't sure because it's owned by Sony.
Activision had the rights to it
Yeah.
at the time. So Tony Hawk 2 had Spider-Man, Officer Dick, and Private Carrera.
Yep.
Which was just some random girl that no one knows about.
Yep.
And then the Tony Hawk 3 had, I want to say Wolverine,
I don't remember.
and
Again, I don't remember that game.
maybe Shrek was in that one. Was Shrek in 4? No, Shrek was in one of the games. I think Shrek was in 4 maybe. Because they had Shrek. Oh, I think it was Wolverine and like Call of Duty Soldier.
That entirely believable.
Okay, I know the characters. I just don't remember which game
it's
they're
all
in.
good.
So hold on. So there was Spider-Man, Shrek, Call of Duty Soldier. Oh man, Jango Fett.
Oh, that's right. That was the
Jango Fett
fourth
was in
one,
4.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they really, there was some opportunity with that, but I thought at the same time,
Iron Maiden,
Yep, they had Iron Maiden, but so they
Iron Man.
Yep, so they have all these celebrity characters, but then you could create a character that would be so much better. So it was really hard for me to even want to use those characters.
You could trade specials amongst people. So you give your character the Jango Fett jetpack special where you get launched a whole bunch of extra feet in the air. Oh, there was also a horrible glitch in that game too.
Fourth one?
Yes, there was. This was pre-internet, so they couldn't patch stuff out. If player 2 played Jango Fett and you played Jango Fett, player 1 could launch themselves with the jetpack. Player 2, if they did the jetpack input, it didn't affect player 2, or it would affect player 2, but then it would also still affect player 1. So you'd launch player 1 extra high, so you could screw them up in the middle of a combo. It's really bad. Anywho, back to the timeline.
Okay, so we're still in Underground.
We're at Underground because Underground.
Oh no, we're Underground 2 because we started talking
Let's
about the
jump
throwing
back a little bit because Underground. Cool thing about Underground was it also added a story, so the creative character actually felt like it meant something.
That's right. They actually had like a real.
It was your character trying to become pro, and that's why it broke away from the title of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater because
You were
4
pro.
ended, so it was Underground. It was you working your way up from the Underground, and it was cool because they brought in a bunch of different people who had really big influence on skateboarding in the early days. Like Stacy Peralta is like the guy who owns the pro shop next to you.
Yeah, there were a lot of interesting. I think I liked the progression of the level system too. Like that had that under like working your way up feeling. Like a couple of those levels just were kind of like they weren't great levels to begin. Like the Suburbia level, right? The first level,
New Jersey.
Yeah, New Jersey. That one was a lot of fun because really you had to make up your tricks. I mean, there wasn't ramps given to you. It wasn't as obvious where to go to do your tricks. You really had to create your tricks.
Well, there was some pool down there. They also added create a trick in that too.
Oh, that's right.
Because you had to create your pro move signature trick.
Oh, that's right.
But it worked with the story. I mean, sports games generally don't have story, which is weird because now they're like
they're trying it. They're
trying
experimenting
to do story
it.
mode. But I feel like Tony Hawk actually had a good grip on that for Underground.
They did, and I think they're, as far as I remember, they're the only extreme sport game that legitimately had one.
Yeah,
I think, yeah, I would say that they're probably the only one at that time that had one. I can't really say as far as the future after that, but
well, Underground 2's story was Tony Hawk and Bam Margera decide to have a
Bam. It's all back.
It's
to Bam.
always back to Bam. I feel
the
like he
the
just
highs and
came in-
lows of Bam.
He was like riding high and got popular, and then just moved his way into my Tony Hawk game, and nobody cared then.
He wasn't selling more copies. Like people did not play Tony Hawk for Bam.
I don't know. I think they did. I think they did because everyone loved Jackass at the time, man.
Why wasn't Johnny Knoxville a playable character? Because then his special would
They
have
had
been just
Steve-O.
crashing. That's true.
Steve-O.
They did have Steve-O.
Steve-O with their one special character with stupid vehicle. Bam's stupid dad was in the damn game.
Was he?
Yeah, Phil's a playable skater. Because I hate that game. Know too much about it. All their weird side characters too. The kid in the wheelchair, he's a playable skater.
I just remember probably like 5 years ago.
Steve-O has a mechanical bull. You're riding a mechanical bull in Spain.
I remember someone was playing the game. I sat down. I was like, I haven't played this forever. I hated this game when it came out. I sat down and started playing the story mode. It got to the first mission where you had to throw an apple. I was like, oh, screw this game. I hate this game.
Ben Franklin was a playable skater.
Yeah, they really lost their minds after that. So okay, so now that we're to Underground 2, which was kind of
Awful.
You say
Not to mention the slow mo.
Okay,
You can do slow mo skating.
let's go to the rule of 3. So where does it pick back up now?
We don't talk. No, we're done with that.
So the rule of 3 was only for the first 6 games. After that,
Yes.
it's the rule of they're all terrible.
Well, you got to break them up like trilogies, okay? You got to treat them like Star Wars.
So the third trilogy. Let's talk about the third trilogy. So what came next?
Hold on. Do you want to count offshoots in here?
What's considered an offshoot in the Tony Hawk?
Tony Hawk Downhill Jam for the Wii and PlayStation 2. It didn't even make it to a different system.
Well, that's because it came with that board. And anytime you
No,
that wasn't
You're
the
thinking
board.
of the wrong thing.
Oh,
We're not even there yet. We're not there yet, baby. You got to pump the brakes on that.
Okay, so Downhill Jam. I can't say I played it.
Downhill Jam was all racing.
Okay, so
It's something that
it's
you
what I
actually
wanted.
probably would like. Yeah.
Was it
If you-
anything like Downhill BMX Downhill?
Like Downhill Domination?
Yeah, Downhill
Yeah, like
Domination.
you can punch each other and stuff while you're going downhill.
We're gonna have to play that game.
You're going to have to hunt it down. Do you want it on Wii or do you want it on PlayStation 2?
Well, they're both gonna cost $1, so I could probably just buy
They
both.
probably would be dirt cheap right now. Unless if people hear this and they're like, oh, I forgot about that. Go pick it up.
Yeah,
Skyrocket the prices.
It's gonna be cool in 10 years. No, it's really not.
I don't know. Might actually
Dude,
be okay.
I just bought
I think the
2X a
only
couple years
pro-
ago for $1.
I think the only pro in Tony Hawk's Downhill Jam is Tony Hawk. I think it's all like made up cartoon characters.
They
that
didn't
are
want to
super
pay for
cel-shaded.
anybody else.
No, probably not. Tony Hawk's like, yeah, license out my name again. Dude, business side of things. Activision offered him a buyout for his name in
Yep.
case the game bombed.
Yep.
And his agent, I saw an interview where his agent was like, you sure you don't want to take the buyout and everything? And he's like, I know you just bought a house. Are you sure you don't want to leave yourself cash for it? And he's like, nah, I'll keep my name on it and licensing. And I mean, think about it. After that, Tony Hawk 2,
Well, I
3,
think
4, Underground 2.
Well, I feel like that still kind of works in his favor because he still had his Tony Hawk brand
Yeah.
that you would find at like Kohl's, and you'd
That's the thing.
find the clothing
his
and
Hawk brand clothing and
and his
everything.
skateboards.
Yep.
So it was probably still smart for him to keep that. Although the video game series kind of tanked, he was still making money on them.
Oh, I think he made like $1 billion. That was the first like non-sports.
We don't support that
thing.
stat. That's just what Das thinks.
No, I'm serious. Like, look it up. I guarantee you he did like $1 billion in sales.
I bet the games
Because I remember like Tony
probably.
Hawk 2, 3, and 4 were like all on like top 10 games list.
They were. They sold just a ton of copies, but
No, I mean consecutively. Like I think that the games did not leave the top 10s list because those games were released annually. So they
Yeah.
were still being bought.
were they? They
were pretty much annually. Yeah,
they were pretty
because
close.
they started pumping those things out, man.
So that's an Activision thing to do, though. Once they have a successful franchise,
Oh, I
I mean,
know.
they're just running with them. Which, okay, so we got the Underground 2. We hate it. We know we hate it. And then Downhill Jam comes out, which is
Well, Downhill Jam was mixed all this stuff, but afterwards was American Wasteland,
okay.
which their big thing that they boast in that was you could do the carving where you could like lean down and swerve, which wasn't really anything. They added a parkour element where you could run up a wall and do a backflip, which was worthless.
Those both sound. Wasn't the story like a Hollywood story?
It was you went out to California and you got your board taken and you hung out with a bunch of punks. And the whole point was for you to build this awesome skate thing by like wrecking certain things in each level. And they also had this like
That pitch sounds horrible.
they also had this like half-assed bullshit thing of you go and there's you skate from level to level with no loading screens, and what it was a long hallway with like 3 rails to grind to go from one scene to the next scene.
That I don't know. I still, from the business side, how could you walk into a room and tell Activision that's the game we want to make? How can they be like, yeah,
Because they were kind of forced. Like I said, by Underground 2, from an interview that I saw with one of the designers, they were talking about the whole vehicle thing that I hate. You know, the like vehicles that don't work very well. Mechanical Bull Steve-O and Jesse James and all that.
Yeah.
That was what the company wanted. They were like, oh, everyone come up with a vehicle design. We got to have one special vehicle per game per level or whatever. And it was bad. But after American Wasteland was the first one that I want to say was that released? No, I think that was the last one for that system, because then
Well, after Downhill Jam was Project 8.
okay, when was okay, do you got the stats
Yeah,
on that?
Yeah, because Downhill Jam and Project 8 both came out in 2006.
Okay, and Project 8 was that was the one where they had where you click in both thumbsticks and they tried to do the skate thing because the game Skate, EA Skate, was getting really popular on them.
Yep. So they finally had
EA did.
They finally had a competitor to Tony Hawk right at the right time because that's when Tony Hawk was dying. So
Tony Hawk was.
They're like, let's go skate realism.
Well, the cool thing was they used the Fight Night style because EA developed Fight Night style where you'd use the left stick to move and the right stick to throw your punches. Instead, right foot was for your footwork. So EA comes out with Skate then, completely blows Tony Hawk out of the water because you're manualing by like pushing down up on the right stick or down and up slightly to the left, which the way you would kick your foot out on a board to do like flip kicks, or like you go and you do like a half circle for like a pop shove it and stuff. So Skate was good.
Oh, just side note.
Yes.
Downhill Jam was developed by Toys for Bob.
Oh, fun fact. Toys for Bob did that because they had the Tony Hawk license for the Disney skating game.
Oh, no, and that game was good because it played like the original Tony Hawk 2 game.
It was a dumbed down version.
Oh yeah, they totally took the original Tony Hawk 2. They added Disney. I gotta get that game. That was a good game. But okay, so we had Project 8. They added some
Project 8,
and then the last one by Neversoft was Proving Ground,
which should have been good.
By the rule of 3, it should have been great.
It should have.
Or no, it should have been terrible.
Should have been terrible. But I recall that being okay, but I don't remember, like, everyone forgets that one. Like, when people talk about Tony Hawk games, that is always just missing. I don't think that did anything in sales. The main thing that they added for that was you were supposed to be able to drop skate park items in the open world.
Which, I don't know. Again, I feel like, doesn't it kind of sound like they kind of lost their way as far as they got away from skateboarding?
I think they did that to try to go and compete with Skate, which Skate 2, you could drop in an item and drag it wherever you want in the world. So you could set up extra rails or extra ramps and kind of adjust the world accordingly.
So you can kind of play with the maps.
Project 8 was them trying to copy Skate's footwork. Proving Grounds was them trying to copy Skate's drop in stuff in an open world. So it's like they were dying. They saw what a much younger, healthier competitor could do, and they were just trying to keep up. But that doesn't work for that formula because Tony Hawk was always arcadey style skating.
Okay. I think for the last few, we really should just tie them all together because we probably don't.
It is because they all use that stupid board.
Well, the last 5 games are all made by Robomoto. And
Robomoto.
Is it okay? Robomoto. So here's the list of them. You have Tony Hawk Motion, Tony Hawk Ride, Tony Hawk Shred.
Ride and Shred were the board games where they gave you a giant peripheral, and they got tied into that because at the time Activision was like, Guitar Hero, everything needs a pro.
Yeah, they were trying to sell the products.
They're like, why sell you a game for $50 when we can sell you a game and a peripheral for $100?
So Shred came out in 2010. So let's just basically say that was the nail in the coffin period for Tony Hawk. Like there was no coming back.
Well, that was the last one that people thought.
You thought, and then 2 years later, Activision's like, we really need to get out of this mess, and digital's starting to pick up. So why don't we re-release the first Tony Hawk as Tony Hawk HD?
I don't even think you can count that, man.
You can, because it really was just it was basically...
It was worse than 2X. How do you worse than 2X?
It was slower. Like it felt slower and clunkier, and it just never felt right when you played it. So okay, so they had this weird
if you want to count the HD for the digital thing, because here's the one thing that digital would have is you could create and share skate parks online,
which they didn't. They actually didn't even have that feature on the game.
I'm saying that could have been.
Oh yeah,
it had potential when you heard about it.
Online in general, if you take 2X and just add where you can play with random people online, that blows that game wide open.
Well, here's the problem when you do online, then you have Pro Skater 5. They thought that they could go back to the well. They did Pro Skater 5. That game entered you. You were in a lobby. You were in an open lobby.
You're bringing up nightmares now.
The game was broken. You want to talk about it? Because you had more experience with this.
I did, because...
I think I played 10 seconds before I threw the controller down.
Well, it was a little bit different for me because, you went ahead and stuck with your franchise.
I rage quit like a mofo.
You stuck with the game, the franchise, pretty much throughout its history up to the motion controls. I, on the other hand, I dropped on Underground. Underground was the last one I played. I played a few. I saw you play Wasteland, and I was like, no way.
I think you bought me Wasteland for my birthday.
I hope so, because that's terrible.
I think you did, because you knew that I was going to beat it anyways.
So I walked away, and I was like, okay, it's 2015. They've had a ton of time to think about what they've done wrong. And they're going back to Pro Skater. This is a chance for them to correct themselves.
Why would you use that engine again, though? Why would you rehash that engine?
Some ways it's nostalgic.
It makes sense. It sounds good on paper, but on execution, it's terrible. And then all they did was make everything fancy with particle effects.
So not only did they do the particle effects, but the lobby system was... See, I played the game when it released, which it happened to have one of the biggest broken engines ever when it released. You could not... I think it was the third level. I actually was like, I'm going to play through Tony Hawk.
Or the game would lock the disc up?
It wouldn't. What would happen is to go to the next level, it would drop you back into the previous level. It would cycle back to the third level over and over again. Even if you exited completely out from the menu, you go to the fourth level, it would drop you into the third level. And the game was completely broken.
Did you rent that or buy that?
I rented it.
Okay.
Although I had at least $5 of faith in Activision to make it right. So I went ahead and I was like, no, I want the Tony Hawk experience. I was hoping, okay, you have a lobby where I can play with random people. I have a beefed out, I have a lot of the features of what Tony Hawk became over the years, but without the throwing and some of the other dumb mechanics.
Yeah.
They had everything, all the tools they needed to make a great Tony Hawk 5. But then they didn't play test the game clearly through the fourth level. And from that moment on, any possible momentum they had going into, hey, we can make 5 at least good enough to make a 6, gone. Because people were pissed. Because the true fans that were like, I'm convinced that I can pay $60 for Tony Hawk 5 and be satisfied. They're like, you sold me a broken game. You guys are the worst.
Had that game came out for $30, I think it would have been more acceptable.
If that game came out fixed, it would have been passable. I feel like the 3 levels I played through, if it didn't have a lot of glitch problems, if it didn't load for so long, and I actually got to experience the rest of the game, I feel like that would have been a great rental game. I could have walked away for the $5 or $6 I paid for it and said, I enjoyed that enough.
You still felt robbed at the $5 or $6?
I only felt robbed because it was broken. The game, I returned it to Family Video and they gave me my money back. I had a broken game. A game that did not work. I could not fully play the game that I had purchased. So not only did they screw me, but I got my money back. I've never done that with a game, ever. But they sold me a broken game. And I could not have been more mad because it was that weird opportunity where I'm like, I can finally get back into Tony Hawk, and they totally screwed it up.
All right, well, let's end on a final note here then. What would you want to see? What do you think would bring back the faith? The Tony Hawk games. You don't think that it's redeemable?
I think it's dead.
You think it's completely dead?
There's nothing that I feel like they've, not only is skateboarding and extreme sports far less commercially popular now, but I don't think there's anywhere to go with that game by Activision.
There's a lot of
if you want to know what
cool
would make it great
videos though on the internet, man. There's way more exposure for people that want to turn pro and can turn pro.
You know what they need to do? Honestly, they need to start a new franchise with a new name, with someone completely new.
You think so?
I think they need to lightning in a bottle is what really Tony Hawk I think kind of was. It was a great idea. It was just executed perfect. Now they need someone else, the next generation, because that's the biggest problem. Is Tony Hawk's not as cool as he was in the 90s.
You think that the name is holding back the franchise?
I think there's been enough bad games now that it killed it. Especially with how the reaction
Shred.
to 5 was. Well, not just Shred, but even they took the Pro Skater name and killed that. Because before 5 came out, I would say, what could get it back on track? Go back to Tony Hawk Pro Skater and give me what was best about it, the skating. And they did that, and they screwed it up. Oh, yeah. They come... Exactly, but...
Underground 3 is somewhere with Valve right now.
Yeah. If they didn't come out with Underground 2... and they were like, let's make Tony Hawk Underground 2. I think that would have worked. because Underground was held in such high fame
Yeah.
amongst the series. But now they've pissed on their Underground series, they've pissed on their Pro Skate series, and no one's going to trust any other series because of the countless tries they've had. Honestly, the best way to do it, you need to either take a modern extreme sports person. Even Shaun White, I'm still shocked they didn't really do anything with him with
They did
snowboarding.
2 Matt Hoffman games. They did 1 Sean Palmer snowboarding.
And
Shaun White has a snowboarding game though.
Does he have one?
Oh yeah, he's got like 2.
And I just feel like they need the next generation of that. They need someone modern.
They had wakeboarding game too, man.
Yeah, I actually like the wakeboarding game. I don't remember the name on it,
Everyone
but
likes it.
But
You don't remember Sean Palmer though?
yeah,
It's PlayStation 2, and then Matt Hoffman had Matt Hoffman Pro BMX on PlayStation, and then Matt Hoffman 2 was on PlayStation 2.
so, but I think of now they need to get the young like 13 to 21 age group. They really need to somehow get them because we've lost trust with that company. So we need a whole new company to kind of jump in and they need a new like high end developer, someone that already has a great reputation to come in and make a game.
I think I could make a great Tony Hawk game.
Well, that
You
wouldn't
gave me a
work
team.
because they're like, okay, who's this DOS dude? He probably works for Bob for
One
Toys.
day, mark my words. Well, they trusted Bob for Toys twice.
Yeah, and that's why they would never go to you.
Well, 3rd time's the charm, right?
Oh yeah, you would be that crap game.
No.
They would say the Bob games were good, great, and then DOS was garbage.
Yeah, right. No.
So where I see the game going is nowhere. Honestly, unless they completely rebrand it, they try to reach a new audience with a new concept. Otherwise, it's dead. What about you? I mean, you're the super fan of the series. What do they have to do to get you to buy it?
As super fan, they need to fix what they started with American Wasteland. There was something in American Wasteland where there were certain missions you could do where you get on a bike, right? But being on a bike, the controls were the same as those stupid vehicle controls from Underground 2.
Yeah.
Here's my question. If you have an entire bike combo system laid out because of Matt Hoffman, and you have all these things from Tony Hawk, why are you not doing bikes for boards?
Wouldn't that
You
work with
literally-
didn't they do ATV versus the motorcycle?
That was a whole different franchise. but
I
yeah.
know, but the same way,
Same
where they
concept,
blended
yes.
2 major franchises.
Yes.
Okay.
So why are you not doing that? Because if you take all the engine from like the original Matt Hoffman or Matt Hoffman 2 and all the stuff you've done with Tony Hawk and figure out how to balance the two and you do bikes for sports, guess what? What was Matt Hoffman known as? The Condor.
I
What
got
is
it
Tony
now.
Hawk as? Hawkman. Guess
Next.
what? You just call it Birds of Prey. It's not that hard
Dude,
of a concept.
Next game, I know what I want.
What do you want then?
You want to rebrand it? Rebrand it Extreme 4 and use the Tony Hawk downhill style, the biking from.
And then find someone who does inline?
Yeah, you could totally pull it off now because now you have great extreme
I
mechanics
think you
for
could make a
each.
better extreme game now.
Yeah.
I agree.
And the Extreme franchise has that nostalgia attached to it, but it kind of ended on a good enough note. Like people didn't walk away from that game saying, "Oh, that game's garbage."
the 3rd game was the best of those 3.
It expanded the most on it. I have my best memories of 2, but I think that's because the one I own the longest. But that's an extreme series, and it kind of is an all-encompassing series, like what you're talking about. It's a hybrid series.
But it's all racing. I want the arena style because
But they could though. That's where they could take the extreme to. That's where they could expand on the extreme series though.
No, because then you're just copying Tony Hawk.
But that's what they can do though. They can still copy it, but they can do it under a new name. They can try to reinvent themselves with a different brand.
Take the whole franchise of taking, Hawkman and Condor and putting it together. I'm telling you, call it Birds of Prey. It's brilliant.
DC would sue them so fast.
Yeah, probably. That was a TV series, wasn't it?
Well, it's a comic book series.
Yeah, but I thought they had a TV series of it too.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm glad we had a chance to talk about this because
I'm glad we got to do Tony Hawk episode because I've wanted to do the Tony Hawk episode for so long.
And we definitely can do more of these deep dives in the future. I mean, if anyone out there wants to suggest any kind of deep dive on a franchise, especially something that's a little bit long lasting, because like this, we had I think there's 19 Tony Hawk games. I think I read there's
so many.
And because there's mobile
The
ones
Game
too.
Boy ones too.
Mobile and Game Boy and PSP I think had one as well.
PSP had Underground Remix too.
See, so I mean, really,
Which actually worked well with the little nub joystick.
So if there's another franchise that you guys want to hear, let us know, and we can definitely consider it. We're always looking for
I also
fan
want to hear
input.
what I think people's favorite Tony Hawk game is.
And worse. I think I'm more interested on what is your worst
No, because
Tony
it's
Hawk
Shred.
experience.
It's Shred and
A lot of
Ride.
people didn't play those two though. So of the ones that people did play, I'd be curious if the turning off point was Wasteland or if it was Underground 2.
I would like to see though which Tony Hawk people like the best.
It's 2. It's always gonna be 2.
2X.
It's
You can
2X.
play 2X.
Oh, I only own 2 of them. I own 2X for Xbox, which plays on Xbox 360, and I have GameCube Tony Hawk 4.
We didn't even talk about how bad the controls are on the GameCube for that.
You want to revert with the Z button?
I guess that's our show for the week then.
Sounds good, man.
Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to the Couch Trolls podcast. If you like this episode, you can find more on Facebook by searching Couch Trolls or on Twitter at Couch_Trolls. I'm your announcer, Canada Sanchez, with Brian doing the sound. Thanks for listening.